DraftKings Sportsbook is not only my favorite sportsbook, but also America's top-rated sportsbook. Speaking of America, our top athletes are over in Tokyo competing for the gold, and DraftKings has a medal-worthy offer for you. Place any pre-event wager of $1 to be eligible to cash $100 in free credits if America wins any medal this year. That's 100-to-1 odds on an American athlete to stand on the podium and receive gold, silver, or bronze this week. DraftKings Sportsbook is easy to navigate and nearly limitless ways to get in on all the action. Download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use promo code MHS when you sign up to turn $1 into $100 in free credits if America wins a medal. That's code MHS to turn $1 into $100 in free credits for a limited time only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Must be 21 or older, Colorado only. New customers only. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700.
Afternoon Drive with Goodman and Mason, presented by Silter-Har Mazda. A no-pressure buying experience in Broomfield at Silter-Har Mazda. Find them at sthmazda.com. Live from the Sasquatch Casino and Wildcard Casino Sports Desk, here's Eric and Andrew.
And welcome back. Afternoon Drive. Goodman Mason. Watch us, milehighsports.com. You can reach us, Rocky Mountain Forest Products Twitter feed, at Justin Adams TV, at Eric Goodman. Mace is at the Hall of Fame right now at the jacket ceremony. Of course, he joined us earlier on in the show. And if you want to join us on the Rocky Mountain Forest Products Twitter feed, you can do that. And if you're looking for wholesale lumber to the public, go to rmfp.com. In the meantime, I want to tell you about Hot Tub Outlet. And what they are doing right now, other people are not doing. What are they doing? Well, they have a huge inventory of hot tubs right now in 2 warehouses ready to sell right now. 15 different models, truckloads of hot tubs delivered every month. Why is that such a big deal? You're thinking, doesn't everybody do that? No. With the supply chains breaking down, a lot of places don't even have inventory. You're going to have to wait 4 to 6 months to get a hot tub. So if this sounds like you or somebody you know, got a Hot Tub Outlet in Littleton. Everything's made in the U.S., great quality, best insulation. Got a Hot Tub Outlet, Denver.com right now. Time now for the lead.
The Lead is presented by Smokin' Dave's Barbecue and Brew, Colorado's best barbecue since 2007. Go get some tonight in Denver, Centennial, Longmont, Lyons, and Estes Park.
I am so glad, Justin, that you're doing the show today because I could never say this in front of Andrew. Mm-hmm. My favorite guy on the DNVR Broncos podcast is Zach Stevens.
That's right.
Now, in all fairness, when Ryan Koenigsberg comes on the show, I say he's my favorite guy. And when Mace is here, I say he's my favorite guy.
There you go.
Right. I want to be consistent. I want to dish out as many compliments as I can. With Zach, Zach, how are you, my friend?
Hey, what's going on, fellas? You know, Eric, I stopped listening after you said Zach is my favorite, so I appreciate that.
No, you are. You are my favorite guy. You're the smartest guy. You're the best looking guy. And now I'm going to segue into what you and Ryan were talking about on the DNVR podcast today, in which, well, the hip kids call him RK, so I'll call him RK. RK was hot about practice today, but you were kind of hot about practice today too. Why?
Yeah, it was just an uninspiring practice, really, from all angles, and of course the quarterback angle as well. And it just feels like this week there hasn't been the energy that you expected there to be, especially when pads come on. I think everyone was so excited to see pads come on, to see some pop in this Broncos team, especially in the run game, and really see what the quarterbacks can do when the pads came on. And from all of those perspectives, it's been disappointing. A lot of people were disappointed in the energy on Tuesday and Wednesday, and again today. After practice, Vic said he thought it was better than the last time they had a day off and came back, but it just there wasn't a lot to get excited about. And guys, it starts with the quarterback position, probably the most uninspiring day we've seen from these quarterbacks as a whole.
You know, it's interesting to me, and I mean, just the former football player in me. I guess once a football player, also always a football player.
Where'd you play flag football?
Well, University of Colorado. You know,
I thought it was intramurals.
Well, we did. Well, it's not intramurals, brothers.
Psi?
No. This ain't intramurals, brother. Actually, that's what Coach Hawkins said.
Oh yeah.
It ain't intramurals. But what that upsets me for one reason. The biggest day.
It's Division I football.
It's the Big 12.
Not anymore.
Not anymore. I'll get straight to the point of my question. And Eric, we'll talk about this a little bit more later because that just sends me over the roof. You put on the pads. It's one of the biggest days in the calendar of the football season. Then afterwards, you're talking about uninspiring practices from your quarterbacks. By the way, they're at a quarterback competition, and they're uninspiring, and the rest of the team follows suit. I can't put this into words. How is this possible? How does this happen where two guys are fighting for a starting job?
Yeah, it's a fantastic question, and the most inspiring thing we've seen out there from these quarterbacks trying to get their team pumped up is Teddy Bridgewater bouncing in the huddle. And I don't mean that in any disrespect to Teddy, but that's what Teddy does. He goes in the huddle and he literally has the offense jump, and what he says, bouncing. He says Garrett Bowles loves it. And that's, I guess, a step in the right direction. But I think you want to see a little more fire, a little more swag coming from these quarterbacks. And you think that Drew Lock would be the perfect guy for that, right? He has all the swag. He has all the fire, it seems. He's even yelling at the Denver crowd during some games. But I think Drew has really changed his kind of personality and outlook with this quarterback battle. He doesn't want to do anything wrong, and we're seeing that on the practice field. We're really seeing it in these past few practices. Drew has changed from a gunslinger a couple years ago. Last week he said he was a calculated gunslinger, and now there's no gunslinger to his game at all right now. Guys, during today's practice, Drew threw the ball downfield more than 10 yards once. 10 yards. He only did that once. That's not a gunslinger type. He's afraid to make mistakes right now. And if he plays this way for the rest of training camp and in preseason, he's just not going to win the job because he's trying to play like Teddy Bridgewater. And Teddy Bridgewater is the best version of Teddy Bridgewater. So if he continues to play like this, it's only going to hurt him. We need to see Drew Lock take the chances, not with the mistakes, of course. He just needs to make better decisions, but that doesn't mean checking the ball down every single time. It means go deep when it's open, and when the plays are open, he's just not taking those shots.
We're talking with Zach Stevens. He is my favorite guy on the DNVR Broncos podcast. You can, by the way, I just thought of this, and you can steal this if you want to on your podcast. You don't have to give me credit, or your next article. You ready?
Hit it.
Has Buzz Lightyear become Buzzkill?
Oh, wow.
Just made it up.
Fantastic.
I read it. Well, truth is, I just read it off the teleprompter.
Well, man, you write good stuff.
Thank you. But to your point, I honestly think that would be an accurate headline because he was like a kid out there drawing up plays in the sand a couple years ago. He just seems tight. He does. And that also reflects not just on the field, but off the field as well. Kind of what we were talking about with Justin saying, just there's a lack of energy, and I don't think it's. He just doesn't want to do something wrong. That's going to be viewed wrong in the coach's eyes and screaming at people and getting people fired up. But that's what this team needs because there's a saying out there that your team takes the identity of either your head coach or your quarterback. Well, Vic Fangio's not a fire-up guy. I mean, he stopped the music a couple of years ago in practice because that's not what he was looking for. He wanted energy to be created amongst the players. So the Broncos aren't going to take his personality. And then the Broncos just don't have a quarterback right now, so they can't take that personality. So when you look at it those ways, it's not a surprise that this team just doesn't have an identity, that this team just isn't fired up right now because they don't have a head coach that's fired up, and their quarterbacks aren't willing to take that and run with it yet.
So who is and again, I'm always careful of having that rah-rah guy, right? Like there has to be some sort of leader, but somebody who speaks up, who doesn't say enough. Or who says that the way that we're practicing right now, it isn't good enough. Who is that guy on this roster, on offense and on defense? Who is the guy, who is the leader of this team? Because right now, it doesn't sound like there's one on the offensive side of the ball.
The Broncos are hoping that it's Cortland Sutton, and he has not been out there during the team periods 100% of the time, and he's going to need to get out there in order for them to take those reins. One of the coaches pointed to that earlier this week, that it's Cortland Sutton. One of the guys that's got the crowd most hyped this training camp has been Jerry Jeudy, so maybe he'll start taking that role in year 2, especially as he continues to ball out. And on the defensive side of the ball, it doesn't really seem like it's Von Miller anymore, especially with him being at peace and kind of taking that relaxed role of being okay with whatever happens. So you want to see it be Kareem Jackson, or what you want to really see it be Bradley Chubb, who's going to be the leader for the next 5 years. And the defense has started to win these last few practices, but it's been Kareem has been the guy that's been talking the most.
I was not at practice today. Were you tier 2 or tier 3? And for those that don't know what that means, if you're tier 2, you have availability for all the press conferences. Were you tier 2 or tier 3 today?
I was big boy tier 2 down there.
Okay. Did anybody ask Vic Fangio about what happened with Jason Garrett on how he got all bent out of shape with a media member calling him Jason? Because I was not at practice today for tier 2. The only time I've been tier 3 is when you and I were standing next to each other and you were humoring me and laughing at all my bad jokes.
They were great jokes.
Really? You're going to go, really?
Well, that's the reason why he wanted you to say that he's your favorite.
Listen, the interview's over. You don't have to butter me up anymore. Did anybody ask Vic about the whole coach thing with Jason Garrett?
Man, no one did. That would have been a great question. And here's the thing: when you ask that question, Eric, do you say, "Hey Vic, I want to ask you about this"? Or do you say, "Hey Coach, I want to ask"?
No, I'll tell. It's funny because when Andrew and I did the show yesterday, I said, I hope somebody asked that question because I'm not going to be tier 2 today. And I told him how I would ask it. What I would say is, I don't know if you heard, but at yesterday's press conference with the New York Giants offensive coordinator, Jason Garrett got all bent out of shape when a media member referred to him as Jason and did not call him coach. Is that a big deal to you? That's how I would have phrased it.
What a fantastic question, Eric. Are you tier 2 tomorrow?
No, because I don't work on weekends. I'm a Monday through Friday guy. Are you going to be tier 2? Are you tier 2 tomorrow?
I believe I am.
Dude, you got to ask that question. Now, I do want to ask you because you've been doing this for a long time. You used to be a scout for the Browns. Now you've come, into the mud pit with the rest of us media guys. What if Vic said to you, Zach, you need to call me coach? How would you handle that?
Oh man, I mean I just can't believe a coach getting bent out of shape. So I would be surprised at that. Yeah, if a player calls him coach, I know there's some teachers that want you to always call him by their last name. Okay, I understand that, but man, I mean they're not our coach, so I would just find that just so weird. I thought that was a very weird look by Jason Garrett, right?
Right. Now, do you refer to him as Vic or just hey you?
I throw them all around, all three.
Do you call him coach?
I call him coach too.
Do you?
I have.
Yeah. I as I said to Andrew on the show yesterday, Vic is not that much older than me. If it's my contemporary, I'm sorry, I'm going with your first name. The only time I ever called a guy coach was Roy Williams.
Ooh,
when I was
that's a pretty good one. Well,
I was 24 years old. I was a kid. And Bill Snyder with Kansas State. Mm-hmm. I was a kid. I was 24. But now that I'm eligible for my ARP card, which I am, by the way. The discounts are fantastic. And I'm closer to Social Security.
God, he is old.
I'm much closer to Social Security than I ever thought I would be. You go by your first name. First name.
Right.
At least with me you do.
Right.
So, anyway, tell everybody how they can get your podcast. You and RK and Andrew.
Go on to anywhere you find podcasts, search Broncos, and look for the DNVR Broncos one. We'll be up there near the top. And, like you said, today was a little fiery of a podcast, and we'll be going this weekend as well with the Broncos having 2 practices this week.
Okay. We will see you out of practice. Thanks so much. Have a great weekend,
Thanks,
Zach. Appreciate it.
Hey, thanks, fellas. Really enjoyed it.
Thank you. All right, coming up after the break, a guy the Broncos could have drafted. Mm-hmm. Just got $150 million guaranteed. in a contract that's $258 million. Who is it, and how big of a mistake did the Broncos make not drafting this guy? That's next.
Afternoon Drive with Goodman and Mason, presented by Silter-Har Mazda. A no-pressure buying experience in Broomfield at Silter-Har Mazda. Find them at sthmazda.com. Live from the Sasquatch Casino and Wildcard Casino Sports Desk, here's Eric and Andrew.
Welcome back, Afternoon Drive. Goodman, Mason. Watch us, milehighsports.com. You can reach us. Rocky Mountain Forest Products Twitter feed at Justin Adams TV, at Eric Goodman. Mace is at the Hall of Fame jacket ceremony right now. He joined us earlier on in the show, and I'm guessing, I don't know if it's going to be podcasted, but you can actually listen to the interview that we did with him. It was at 4:15 today. You can catch it on demand on our app, Mile High Sports, and you can obviously catch it on our website as well, milehighsports.com. So you can join us on the Rocky Mountain Forest Products Twitter feed if you are looking for wholesale lumber to the public. And why would you be looking for retail lumber? Go wholesale lumber. Rocky Mountain Forest Products, you can find them in Wheat Ridge. If you're building your next deck, your next fence, anything like that, don't spend too much money, not to mention their lumber. You have seen it, actually, because it's in Empower Field. It's in Coors Field, and if you've ever gone to the Stanley Hotel up in Estes Park, it is there as well. Again, find them in Wheat Ridge or go to rmfp.com. Time now for the buzz.
The Buzz is presented by Rocky Mountain Forest Products, where they specialize in wholesale lumber to the public. Go to Rocky Mountain Forest Products in Wheat Ridge or go to rmfp.com.
2018 draft, the Broncos with the 5th overall pick selected Bradley Chubb. Couple of picks later, the Bills took Josh Allen. Today, Josh Allen gets a 6-year extension, $258 million, $150 million guaranteed. I do not want to, and I know you're not going to. Mm-hmm. This is not about bashing Bradley Chubb. Bradley Chubb's a really, really
fantastic
good player.
Fantastic.
You couldn't go wrong with the pick. But then again, at the quarterback position is the most important position on the football field. So, do you think if Allen was drafted by the Broncos, he would be having the same success that he is having in Buffalo?
No, because we have to set the scene. We have to let people know what was going on in 2018. Vance Joseph was going into his second season as head coach. You also had a new offensive coordinator in Bill Musgrave, who, as we've known, is not that creative at all. Not that creative of a play caller.
No.
Unless you remember something I don't remember.
I remember a lot of things you don't, but it has nothing to do with Bill Musgrave.
Well, that too.
Yeah.
Clint
I'm
Kubiak.
older. It's wisdom. I'm not smarter than you. It's just more wisdom.
100%. Clint Kubiak, Curtis Motkins, those guys were on the offensive side. Offense, be your coaches. No, he wouldn't have been as successful because it's the same issue that the Broncos are having right now. There's no stability, and there's no direction in the offense.
Well,
I've been saying this for years.
Think about this for a second. I don't know if this would have happened with Josh Allen.
Mm-hmm.
Brian Daboll, the offensive coordinator for the Bills, who, by the way, everybody gushes over Brian Daboll. You got to remember this guy has bounced around quite a bit himself, okay? He was the Browns offensive coordinator from 2009 to 2010. Next year with Miami, offensive coordinator, 1 year. Next year, Kansas City, offensive coordinator, 1 year. The following year, he went to New England as a tight ends coach for about 3 years. Then went to Alabama, Crimson Tide, 1 year offensive coordinator. Since 2018, the year that Josh Allen was drafted, he has been their offensive coordinator. So Allen has had the luxury of having the same offensive coordinator for 3 years. The Broncos have had 3 offensive coordinators over the last 3 years.
Yes. And if you want to add the 4th year, remember they fired their offensive coordinator mid-season.
Right.
Mike McCoy.
Yes.
And they went from there, right? And so, again, it gets back to the point of no consistency, no foundation. When people look at the Denver Broncos, when Mike Shanahan was around, you knew what you were going to get.
Except on the defensive side of the ball. Hold on. They had 7 defensive coordinators in 7 years.
Yeah, well, that's...
It was the office wasn't a door; it was a revolving door.
It was like that Simpsons meme you see, where the guy walks in the door, gets his hat, put it up, and then takes his hat right back and walks out the door.
Right.
That's exactly what that was.
Right.
But on the offensive side of the ball, You knew exactly what you were getting.
Right.
It's zone running all day long, and we're going to play action that. Boot action all day off of that.
Allen would have been unbelievable
Ridiculous.
in Shanahan's offense.
Ridiculous. And you can make the argument that Rich Scangarello would have been a really good offensive coordinator with Josh Allen. Same type of action. He would have had a lot more forgiveness with using a guy with the skills that Josh Allen had.
Yeah, the problem is that Fangio had Scangarello jammed down his throat.
Exactly.
And I'm not saying they didn't like each other. I'm just saying the relationship was frosty at times.
But again, that gets back to another point that I have. Right. Rich Scangarello was jammed down the throat of Vic Fangio, right?
Yep.
Who else was for Vance Joseph? Mike McCoy.
Yep.
And that's the same thing over and over.
Little different.
No, it's a little different.
No, actually, it's a lot different.
But it is same
Can
light.
I tell you where it's a lot different?
Go ahead, please.
Mike McCoy used to be a head coach.
For sure.
Okay. And so the problem is he kind of wanted Vance's job, but that's a whole nother conversation.
Right.
Vance Joseph, first-year head coach, not a lot of coordinator experience. At least you have Mike McCoy, who can maybe teach some things to Vance Joseph. Scangarello, brand new offensive coordinator, and Vic Fangio, brand new head coach.
But that brings, again, even though with that being said, though, it's still, he didn't pick his guy. Vic Fangio didn't pick his guy, right?
He did not.
Vance Joseph didn't pick his guy.
He didn't pick any of his guys.
So now you're bringing this quarterback in this situation.
Can I tell you a funny story real quick?
Yeah, please.
Okay. When Vance Joseph was hired by the Broncos, I was doing the show with Les Shapiro. We had Vance on our show. And we're talking to Vance, and we said, what are your thoughts about Mike McCoy possibly being your offensive coordinator? And he said, I don't know that much about it. We found out later, McCoy, during that interview, essentially, McCoy was in Elway's office.
Come on, man. Come on,
He
man.
was in the building.
Stop lying.
From what I understand, he was in the building when Vance was doing the interview with us. But I digress. Finish your point.
It's ridiculous. My point's just simple. No foundation. You have no idea what the offense is. You have no clue what this team was all about. You bring in this quarterback into a system that really wasn't there. You have no idea what you're going to run. And now he's supposed to flourish in a system that nobody knows. How is that supposed to happen? How can you flourish in chaos? And that's really what the Broncos have been. Ever since Peyton Manning decided to hang up the cleats, the offensive side of the ball has been nothing but chaos. And that's the reason why the quarterback situation is the way that it is. And that's the real reason why this team is the way that they are. It's been nothing but chaos.
Right. By the way, you've heard people say, hey, maybe Drew Lock in his third year can do exactly what.
I said that. When I was on here last time, I said that. I'll own up to it.
I'm going to jump over the table and strangle you.
But yeah, you did. And you did that show. Because I looked at it, I said, well, you know what? Drew Lock, he should be able in his third year.
How do you feel about that now?
What was I thinking? I feel about as bad as that car that I was driving earlier
let
today.
me tell you something. What am I thinking bringing you back on the show?
That's a great question.
With a comment like that.
I just need some more. You gave me that barbecue coupon last time, by the way. What you said?
Smoking
come on
Dave's.
back.
Smoking Dave's.
Baby. Just the reality is Bronco fans would have found a reason to cheer, a reason to be excited about the quarterback situation. And so you look and say, well, Josh Allen was able to do X, so Drew Lock should be able to do Y. No. But the reality is that Josh Allen is that guy, and Drew Lock is not that guy. And that's the reality of the situation. And you know what? We're all going to find out really how Drew Lock is when they take on the Vikings next week and when they go and play Seattle next week. You will see that live and in color.
Coming up after the break, Steve Atwater, I believe, has gotten his gold jacket by now, and Andrew is all over it because actually he was invited by Steve to be part of the festivities. So I'll ask you, and you can think about it during the break, if a football player, baseball player, hockey player, basketball player were going into the Hall of Fame, and they said, hey, Justin, I'd like you to be one of my guests. Who would you like to ask you in all four major sports? That's next.
Buffalo soldier, and he was taken from Africa, brought to America.
The rich and powerful want us to think the economy is a line on a stock market ticker. That's wrong. The economy is powered by us. It's what we create. what we buy, what we need. President Biden has proposed bold public investments in jobs and families, but more is needed. We need housing, healthcare, caregiving, action on the climate crisis, and millions of good-paying jobs. This is our moment to finally unlock prosperity for all of us. For more information, go to prosperus.org. That's prosperus.org.
DraftKings Sportsbook is not only my favorite sportsbook, but also America's top-rated sportsbook. Speaking of America, our top athletes are over in Tokyo competing for the gold, and DraftKings has a medal-worthy offer for you. Place any pre-event wager of $1 to be eligible to cash $100 in free credits if America wins any medal this year. That's 100-to-1 odds on an American athlete to stand on the podium and receive gold, silver, or bronze this week. DraftKings Sportsbook is easy to navigate and nearly limitless ways to get in on all the action. Download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use promo code MHS when you sign up to turn $1 into $100 in free credits if America wins a medal. That's code MHS to turn $1 into $100 in free credits for a limited time only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Must be 21 or older, Colorado only. New customers only. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700.
Afternoon Drive with Goodman and Mason, presented by Silter Har Mazda. A no-pressure buying experience in Broomfield at Silter Har Mazda. Find them at sthmazda.com. Live from the Sasquatch Casino and Wildcard Casino Sports Desk, here's Eric and Andrew.
Welcome back, Afternoon Drive. Goodman Mason. Watch us, milehighsports.com. You can reach us on the Rocky Mountain Forest Products Twitter feed at Justin Adams TV, at Eric Goodman. If you're looking for wholesale lumber to the public, go to rmfp.com. Time now for What's Trending.
What's Trending is presented by Impact Real Estate. Impact Real Estate is creative real estate and solutions with the greatest impact. Go to impactcommercial.co.
Okay, so our friend Andrew Mason, guy who does the show with me every day, he was invited by Steve Atwater as one of his guests for the Hall of Fame weekend.
Yes.
How cool is that?
Ridiculous.
You know Steve pretty well. I know Steve pretty well, and apparently you and I didn't make the cut because that's why we are sitting here.
Exactly.
So if there was an NFL player, NHL player, Major League Baseball player, basketball player, who would you want to invite you to their induction ceremony? Let's say you knew them.
Okay.
You knew them.
Okay.
Got friendly with them. Who would you want to invite you?
All right, so I'll start with hockey. Patrick Roy. I just loved the way that he was able to stop the puck. Just fiery guy. I loved everything about the way that he played. And let's be honest, in the 2001 Stanley Cup Finals, he was the reason why the Avs won that in 7. Let's not forget what happened in Game 6 against the New Jersey Devils. I mean, they were throwing shot after shot after shot at him, and he turned all of them away until, Foote was able to go and get a goal. And then from there, Patrick Roy shut everything down from there. So I would want Patrick Roy to be the guy in hockey. Baseball, I cheated a little bit here because I have 2.
Okay.
But both from the same team, Bob Gibson and Ozzie Smith.
Okay.
2 of the best I've ever seen. Well, I've never seen Bob Gibson.
Yep.
But I did see Ozzie Smith.
Yep.
And my family grew up in St. Louis, and I just revere him. Football, Walter Payton will be the one guy that I would love. You're a Chicago guy. I love everything about Walter Payton and everything that he was able to do on the field. But just his tenacity, his fierceness would definitely want to be that guy. And then Dikembe Mutombo, just because when I grew up, I remember the Dikembe Mutombo meal deal. And it was just one of the fun things that I had. But he was the first Nugget that I saw that I just couldn't believe my eyes of how he dictated a game. I mean, you looked at what he did against the Seattle Supersonics when the Nuggets were able to upset the Supersonics. It was ridiculous. And that's a guy that I would love to just be around for a little bit. So those are my guys right there.
Okay. Unfortunately, I might have to pick a guy or two who is not in the Hall of Fame.
Okay.
And
I didn't know because there's other guys too. Like LaFonso Ellis would have been my other guy, by the way.
Well, here's the thing.
Yeah.
My whole modus operandi is who's going to have the best party.
Sure.
So basketball would be Dennis Rodman. I know he's going to have the best party. For sure. He's going to have, so it's all based on parties. I'll go with Deion Sanders or Michael Irvin.
Okay. Must be the money.
Not because the cocaine will be flying, but because I know it'll be the best party. I'd have to go with Babe Ruth.
Babe Ruth, okay.
Because I know there'll be a lot of drinking involved.
Oh, for sure.
And then I'm going to go off the board for 200.
Okay.
And I would like to go to the Hall of Fame induction ceremony for a guy who will never get into the Hall of Fame, but he is a friend of mine and a great guy to drink a beer with. Former Avs forward Danny Highnote.
Okay.
I will take Dan Highnote all day. The first time I ever met Dan, I had just moved here. It was the lockout. And I was with a couple of friends of mine. You may or may not know them, Dave Benz and Tim Ring.
Okay, I know Tim.
Both of them sportscasters. Actually, Benzie is now the play-by-play guy for the Timberwolves. And Tim left the business, but he was a main sports guy in Phoenix for a long time. So we are out at a bar, Spill, back in the day, which was known for a lot of things other than drinks. Again, totally different story. And they said, you got to meet a friend of ours who plays for the Avs. I said, great, because it was the lockout. I couldn't meet any of these guys. So they tap him on the shoulder. Dan is probably 5'9", tops.
Right.
Talking to a couple of girls. He's married now. He actually invited me to his engagement thing. That's a relationship that we had. He turns around with 2 full pitchers of beer in his hand.
Yes.
And I'm thinking, this is my guy.
I love it.
And his ability to drink and perform was legendary in that locker room. Dan Highnote loved his beer, but make no mistake about it, no matter how hungover he was at practice the next day, you would never know.
So I went into this list serious, thinking about the guys and their tenacity.
I mean, Jordan's party, Michael Jordan's party, I suppose, would be great.
That would be wonderful.
But think about a Dennis Rodman party.
That would be
kidding?
great. How about Pete Rose? We could go to his party.
No, I can't stand Pete Rose.
Really?
I never want to go to his party. If Pete Rose, if Danny called me and said, Pete Rose can come on your show, I'd say to Andrew, you do the interview.
Wow.
No interest. Same thing with Todd Helton. You do the interview. No interest in talking to him.
Todd, I could kind of understand. But Pete Rose?
Todd's a putz. He is.
Really?
Yes. One of the all-time jerks I've ever covered.
You know what's interesting with Todd? And what he's done on the
Probably
field.
shouldn't have said that on the air. So let me rephrase it. Todd Helton's a putz.
Okay. Okay. The journalist in me has to ask, why so?
I used to be a journalist too.
Well, I know that, but I'm just saying, like, why so?
Because he's an all-time jerk.
What has happened to Todd Helton afterwards? Like, after he retired, even with...
Can I say one more thing about Todd Helton?
Please.
I'd give him a vote for the Hall of Fame, though. That should tell you that I don't let my bias of him as a person affect how I felt about him as a player.
It happens all over the place. We see that all the time.
I'm not that way. I think Todd Helton is probably doesn't have the numbers. He played in the Humidor era. His numbers are inflated. The back end of his career wasn't very good. But when I think of a baseball player,
it's Todd Helton.
A baseball player, to me, that totally encompasses Todd Helton.
Todd Helton, 100%.
But in the locker room, absolute jerk, dismissive to the media unless he really, really liked you. I didn't like the fact we were doing a gangbang. What I mean by that is all the reporters are around. It's just a term.
Right.
It's just a term in the business. He called a female reporter honey. I felt it to be very inappropriate. He didn't mean it in a sexual way. He didn't. And I don't even think he meant it to even be condescending. That's just the way he is.
Wow.
So he knew he was a jerk to me all season. All season. So at the end of the season, my first year there, which was 2004, I walked up to him and I bit my tongue. And I said, Todd, I hope you have a nice off season. Biting my tongue, thinking I'll be the bigger person. And he looked at me and he said, Eric, I've been a jerk to you all year. I hope you have a really nice off season as well. 2005 rolls around or 2006 rolls around, bang, same old Todd.
Wow.
Even at his retirement ceremony, he saw me ask a question and he was dismissive. And I'm thinking, you know what? F you.
There's some players like that. There are some players like that. And for some reason, I don't know why, but that just shows you the reason why guys like Steve Atwater are so valuable.
Yes.
I won't even say rare. Guys like that are rare. It's more rare to have it on the opposite side where guys are more dismissive of the media than anything else.
You know what I used to think all the time? All the time whenever I talk to Todd. You aren't half the player Joe Sakic is. Ooh. And you aren't even half the person Joe Sakic is. Joe Sakic, Hall of Famer, one of the nicest human beings you will ever meet. And I'm thinking, why can't you be more like Joe?
Right.
Why can't you at least be nice and decent?
Or at least just be decent.
Right.
At least be decent. I never had those interactions with Todd Helton. I'm a little bit younger.
Right.
A lot of bit younger. But I've never had those type of interactions. But sometimes it's like this. When you meet your heroes, you could be disappointed. And that's one of those times, too.
Todd Helton certainly was never a hero.
But I'm just saying, like, for me, if Steve Atwater, for example, was
greatest
that
guy.
way.
Great.
I would be
John Lynch.
Right.
One of the greatest human beings you'll ever meet.
Exactly.
You would never know with his personality what he did to people on the field. Same thing with Steve Atwater. How you know him as a person, you would think this guy wouldn't hurt a fly, and he would destroy you on the field.
Easily. Can I tell you the story real quick? I don't know how much time we have with Steve Atwater. So
we have about 5 seconds.
5 seconds. Okay. So I'll make it as quickly as possible. So was able to just
Great story. Okay, Danny, what do we have?
Well, I was able to have lunch with Steve Atwater one time. We did radio together at Orange and Blue 760. And coming up on my birthday 35, okay? I'm in Silverthorne with my wife. We're just at a hotel. We're enjoying on just, married life together, enjoying my birthday. And I wake up and you get the text messages from your family. You get your text messages from your friends here and there. Well, I got it from my mom. My mom sent me a text.
Did you get a text from Steve?
I got a text from Steve Atwater.
Wow.
Wait, and here's the thing, and I'll show you this at the break. It was early in the morning, not just something where it's like, kind of midday, later on in the day. He sent me a text, and it was one of those where I was like, I appreciate you.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't like one of those things where you had to do that. He's Steve Atwater.
Right.
And he did that for me, sent me a text in the morning, man. I will always be indebted for him for that. Always. One of my favorites.
You know what? He's a person first, and he's a good person.
Yes, he is.
He's a good person.
But don't get it twisted. He will send a blessing over the middle if you throw that football over there.
Between the lines, different guy. John Lynch, between the lines, different guy. But as I told you in the break, John Lynch is the type of guy that once he knows your name, he always refers to you by your first name. Steve's the same way.
Yep.
Steve's the exact same way. What do we have coming up on Masterpiece Roofing, just in case you missed it?
Well, you guys talked about the Josh Allen extension. We'll talk about a couple big extensions in the basketball world. Also, the Rockies playing tonight. They've got a series this weekend with the Fish from Florida. That's coming up next right here on Afternoon Drive with Goodman and Mason on Mile High Sports.
Afternoon Drive with Goodman and Mason, presented by Silter Har Mazda. A no-pressure buying experience in Broomfield at Silter Har Mazda. Find them at sthmazda.com. Live from the Sasquatch Casino and Wildcard Casino Sports Desk, here's Eric and Andrew.
Never need a what I need. Trying to find the one that can fix me. I've been dodging death in the 6-speed. Amphetamine got my stomach feeling sickly.
Watch us, milehighsports.com. You can reach us. Rocky Mountain Forest Products Twitter feed, at Mace Denver, at Eric Goodman, at Justin Adams TV. Justin, CBS Sports, CBS News, been joining us for the full 2 hours today. If you're looking for wholesale lumber to the public, go to rmfp.com. Steve Atwater, by the way, just minutes ago received his gold jacket. Congratulations. This is exactly what I put on Twitter. Well-deserved, at Steve Atwater. We follow each other on Twitter. I'm sure the same thing with you. And then I wrote, I know this is said all the time, but so true of Steve. Great player, but even a better person. And then I also continued, you can also say the same thing about John Lynch. Now, I put in Peyton Manning. I don't know Peyton that well, but I added Peyton Manning because I don't want anybody to think I left him out.
Nothing wrong with that, but
no.
Steve deserves it. Well deserved. That gold jacket fits well on you. Should have been a Hall of Famer years ago. Yep. But you know what? Doing it now is perfect. And again, like I was saying before with the story that I had, one of the best guys that you will ever meet. And one of the most genuine guys you will ever meet. There's a lot of guys who do things for, just to get an applause or just so you can like them. He is genuine in what he does, so I really appreciate him.
Time now for the final word.
Presented by Refresh Snoring and Sleep Apnea Center. Eric stopped snoring and you can too. Go to refreshedsleep.com. Just in case you missed it, is presented by Masterpiece Roofing. Find out how Masterpiece can get your insurance company to pay for your roof. Call 720-242-6404 or go to masterpieceroofing.com today.
Just in case you missed it, Marlins at Rockies this evening, 6:40 Mountain Time. First pitch, Sandy Alcantara versus German Marquez. Miami leads the season series 2-1, and the teams play for the last time this year, 3 games over the weekend. The Marlins are coming off of 3 wins out of 4 against the New York Mets. You like the Rockies to win, lose, or tie this season series with the Marlins.
Where's the game at again?
It is here.
I like the
Rockies.
I like the Rockies.
They win it.
It was on the road.
They win all 3?
No, 2-3.
2-3, so they tie the
wins,
series.
Marquez wins tonight.
Okay.
Gomber's going tomorrow, right?
I don't know. I haven't looked that far ahead.
John Gray, is he pitching the series? No, I don't know that one. Yeah, Rockies win 2 out of 3. Go ahead.
Yeah, but Gomber is going.
Yeah.
Just in case you missed it, SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey extended through 2026. Is this move at all influenced by the recent discussion and what seems inevitable that Texas and Oklahoma will join the SEC, or had he earned this extension before those talks began?
You could give him a lifetime contract and not even think twice about it for what he has done with the SEC network, now Texas and Oklahoma, so on and so forth. Great commissioner, the complete opposite of Larry Scott in the Pac-12.
You can make the argument that he is the most powerful man in college football. That's all that you really need to know about this. Well, college sports, yeah. That's really all that you need to know.
College sports.
Right there.
Just in case you missed it, Kevin Durant plans to sign a 4-year, $198 million extension with the Brooklyn Nets when he becomes eligible to do so on Saturday. Recently, his old teammate, Stephen Curry, signed a 4-year, $215 million extension with the Golden State Warriors. Now, Kevin Durant has been plagued by injuries throughout his career, especially over this last 2 years when he was out with the Achilles for the first year of his time in Brooklyn, spent a lot of time out for a hamstring injury in this past season, and also some time for COVID absences, played only 35 regular season games for the Nets in this past season. His teammates on the Nets, Kyrie Irving and James Harden, each under contract for only 2 more years, but both of them have had their fair share of injury troubles as well. Who benefits more from the deal? The Nets establishing Durant as the centerpiece for the future of their franchise, or Kevin Durant getting that security despite his injury history?
The Nets. Kevin Durant's fine. Okay, Kevin Durant, if the Nets weren't going to sign him, there are, how many teams are there in the NBA? 30, 28, whatever?
30.
30, okay. There's 29 other teams that would sign Kevin Durant. There's 29 other teams that would sign 70% of Kevin Durant. He is the best player in basketball right now. He's showing it in the Olympics. It's a great deal for the Nets.
All right, quick question for both of you, and then I know we got to go. How old is Kevin Durant?
Well, I'm looking at it now, 32.
How old is Steph Curry?
32? Am I right?
33.
30? Really? 33?
I never would have thought Steph Curry was older than Kevin Durant. But then again, he stayed the majority of his time at Davidson. I think he was a 4-year player.
Right.
Kevin Durant came out, pretty much right away.
At 19.
Out of Texas. All right, that was Masterpiece Roofing. Just in case you missed it, Masterpiece Roofing recently voted Denver's best roofing company. Customers love them. Over 100 5-star Google reviews. If you have hail damage on your roof, call for a free inspection today to see how Masterpiece can get your insurance company to pay for your roof. Let Masterpiece turn your home into a masterpiece. Go to masterpieceroofing.com. Nolan, Danny, great job. Danny, all week again. I mean, Nolan, I know you're here for most of the week, but Danny, you bust your tail for us every single
I do what I can. Thank you, Eric.
And what is your work schedule like this weekend?
Well, I'm working on the weekend, obviously, so I'll be anchoring tomorrow at 7 in the morning on CBS 4. Yes, I know it's early, but I make this thing look good. That's why you got to watch CBS 4 in the morning from 7 to 8. Then I'm turning around a package for 5, so I'll be working there. And then I'm working all the way up till Wednesday for the CBS 4 morning show, so be sure to tune in. Watch us at 4:30 to 7 in the morning.
And you will also be sporting a new ride into the CBS 4 garage, the new Acura with little remnants of Dunkin' Donuts all over the floor because you were stuffing your face with that right before the show with tinted windows. Nice touch.
I appreciate it.
Make it the best possible weekend you can.
The air we breathe, the water we drink, the soil that grows food for our families. These basic elements are essential to healthy, happy lives. America's corn growers think so too. Across the country, they're pitching in every day and doing the work to produce food and fuel that is healthy in a sustainable way. Go to ncga.com to learn more about how corn farmers grow a more sustainable future for us all. That's ncga.com.
DraftKings Sportsbook is not only my favorite sportsbook, but also America's top-rated sportsbook. Speaking of America, our top athletes are over in Tokyo competing for the gold, and DraftKings has a medal-worthy offer for you. Place any pre-event wager of $1 to be eligible to cash $100 in free credits if America wins any medal this year. That's 100-to-1 odds on an American athlete to stand on the podium and receive gold, silver, or bronze this week. DraftKings Sportsbook is easy to navigate and nearly limitless ways to get in on all the action. Download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use promo code MHS when you sign up to turn $1 into $100 in free credits if America wins a medal. That's code MHS to turn $1 into $100 in free credits for a limited time only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Must be 21 or older, Colorado only. New customers only. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700.